from Independent University, Bangladesh. I welcome all of you to the webinar on higher education responses, challenges, and solutions during COVID-19. We have our Vice Chancellor Acting, Professor Dr. Milan Pagon, as the chair of the event. We are very delighted to host Professor Dr. Christophe Shinkas from Taylor's University. As the distinguished guest, he is the head of School of Accounting and Finance, also an accomplished academician. We also have as our special guest, Dr. Sultan Mahmoud Bhuiya, a policymaker. He himself is the Director of Strategic Planning and Quality Assurance Division, SPQA, at the UGC, University Grants Commission, Bangladesh. We have Professor Dr. Nazmun Nahar. She is the Director of Institutional Quality Assurance Cell, North-South University. We also have Associate Professor Dr. Kalthum Hussain, Head Media and Communication, Al-Bukhari International University. And last but not least, we have Associate Professor Dr. Muhammad Ashraful Firdaus Chaudhry. He is from Shah Jalal University of Science and Technology. To begin with, I'd like to request the Director of Institutional Quality Assurance Cell, IQAC of IUB, Professor Dr. Sararuddin Ahmed, to put forth his welcoming remarks.
Honorable Vice Chancellor Acting, Professor Milan Pagon, distinguished guests from home and abroad, dear participants, Assalamu alaikum and good morning to all of you. Once again, welcome to the webinar on higher education responses, challenges, and solutions during COVID-19. The broad objective of this webinar is to share knowledge on how higher education institutions are coping and responding with COVID-19 challenges and facilitating teaching and learning. We have distinguished speakers from University Grants Commission, foreign universities, local universities. We have both public and private university to have a 360-degree perspective on the issue. Looking forward to a successful webinar. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Professor Dr. Sararuddin Ahmed. Now I'd like to request our Vice Chancellor Acting, Professor Dr. Milan Pagon, to welcome the audience.
Thank you very much. On behalf of IUB, I would like to welcome all the guests, internal, external, all the participants and spectators. This is a timely and interesting topic. And the funny thing is, before this COVID pandemic started, the hot topic that everybody was talking about was the fourth industrial revolution. And it was funny, we got so many speakers coming to tell us how everything will be different. And they delivered this lecture with PowerPoint, ex cathedra, and they did it the same way they've been doing it for 30, 40 years before, telling us how everything will be different. And we listened and we applauded, and then we went back to our classrooms and we did exactly the same thing we did for decades. And then coronavirus came and said, I'll show you what the change means. I'll show you what it really means. And it turned everything upside down. But there's also an opportunity in this challenge. We are now going from rhetoric to actually doing things differently. We are now forced to change the ways we educate. And we realize that there are many, many challenges out there. We're addressing them, and in doing so, we're improving. Sometimes people are saying, oh, students are not really getting enough out of this online education. But I always tell them, it's not just the subject matter. The whole situation is forcing the students to become adaptive, to become innovative, to cope with the situation, to develop their coping skills, to learn how to deal with stress, with mental pressure, and so on. So it is a great learning opportunity for everybody involved, for the teachers, for the students, for the guardians, for the industry, and so on and so on. But we have to rise to the challenge, and we need to make sure that we really do the best out of the bad situation. And based on what we learned, even if the situation returns back to so-called normal, it is going to be a new normal. And I think we will never go back to the way we were doing things before. So today, I'm really hopeful that we'll hear a lot of insights, a lot of new ideas, how to approach the situation, how to deal with this, and how to make sure that at the end of the day, our students not only get the same quality of education they did before, but that we even take it to a higher level. So I wish everybody a very productive webinar. And again, thank you for joining.
Thank you very much, Professor Dr. Milan Pagon, for actually bringing all of us to the context. The delay, I'd like to request the moderator of the session, Professor Dr. Sarauddin Ahmed, to take the session over. Professor Sarwar, the session is yours.
Thank you, Marjo. Thank you, everybody. I'm director of the IQAC here at IUB, as I've been already introduced, and I will be moderating and facilitating this discussion process. Thank you again, Marjo. Now, without any delay, let us start our proceedings. Our first distinguished speaker is Professor Dr. Christopher Shinkas. Professor Shinkas is the head of the School of Accounting and Finance in Taylor University. Shortly, you will be seeing his detailed profile. Yes, it's already shared. So from Professor Shinkas, we would like to know that how do you comprehend, how do you see the changes in higher education worldwide triggered by this pandemic situation? And also, we would like to know what is the scale of change that you foresee or perceive? And is there any possibility that we can come together and initiate some mutual learning and cooperation process? So, Professor Shinkas, up to you.
Good morning. First of all, I would like to thank IUB and all the organizer of this evening for inviting me today. It's a real pleasure to be with you and to share with you the experience in different places. Thanks a lot, Dr. Professor Houdin. I'm going to address your questions through a presentation, maybe to give you a context a bit of what we did here in my school, in my university, and then come back to your questions, and then that would be like a good beginning for interactions and discussions. All right, give me 1 second for me to share my screen, if you don't mind. I will share here an entire screen. Yes, give me 1 second. Then I do that, and like this. Can someone just confirm that you can see my,
Yes.
my screen?
Yes,
We can see your screen, yes.
Perfect, good. All right, thanks a lot again for giving me the opportunity to share with you, different situation in higher education, also responses, challenges that we have faced recently with the occurrence of COVID-19. So, well, that's the first page is like a picture of our campus in Taylor's University here. Let me start. Well, first of all, I think the Pro-Vice Chancellor, Professor Milan, the introduction here by explaining that everything changed, and actually everything that we are used to do change means that there is no business as usual anymore. So, and that's true for everyone, means for the society, for students, for universities. And this first slide is a bit a way of giving a context here for that. It's like the business for the economy, the society is completely different now. Students, now it's actually another way of actually studying. They have to cope with the distance, with the interactions with the lecturer, with the teachers. They have to show kind of resilience that they didn't have to before. Same actually for the university side. Lecturer has to be more inventive, in the way of delivering the teaching without mentioning the importance of technology in that context. So anyway, you are aware about that. The COVID-19 is the most challenging time that we might have faced with in education, simply because global health calamity in the century since the Second World War. So it's a big change that we are forced to embrace right now. So just very quickly, I'm going to focus on the education here. I don't want to go too much in details on the impact. I'm sure you have read this all around on the net, on the news, and so on. But we have clear and obvious evidence that this pandemic has a big impact on all not only education system and sectors, but also all economies in the world, as these graphs show. I wanted also to show this graph because, as I will come back a bit later, you will see that this graph actually is part of our trading room that we are giving the opportunity to our students to have access live on this online since we have the COVID. So it's also a kind of illustration. It's a kind of contextualization and illustration, but I'm coming back on that in a few minutes. So anyway, this you are aware, this is the data, the usual data to show that, there's an impact in all countries. We can see that the projections are quite negative in the vast majority of the countries. This is the usual economic analysis, in Asia and Pacific economic. We actually expect a loss of $1.7 trillion. I think it's a huge crash. Not crash, but crisis, let's say, that we have to deal with. That's the reality. So in the Malaysian context, as you can guess, it's in every country, but in Malaysian context here, we have the impact is significant here from 4.3% growth, economic growth. We are going to minus 2.1. So that's quite obvious, this impact, and also on other indicators like the consumer price index and unemployment that is actually increasing here as well. So that's the usual economic indicators showing us that none of us, there is no country that actually is not affected by the COVID-19. More specifically, as you know, we have specific impact on specific sectors, and in the education is part of it, because we are here to discuss about it. But it's probably true in every country that tourism and hospitality is probably the most affected sectors. As you can see here, this graph is actually well illustrative. It's well done. Degree of impact in specific sectors. So you can see that tourism and hospitality, well, that's very easy to understand. If the hotel cannot, welcome the guest, and if we are not allowed to take a flight, that's obvious. These sectors will be affected. Aviation, same, cannot take a flight, so a lot of things will be impacted. Oil and gas, yeah, people during MCO, movement control order, people were not allowed to move, so it means that we were actually consuming much less oil and gas, and agriculture as well was impacted. Focus on education, and let's start more specifically this talk with the questions that have been mentioned at the very beginning. So the impact of the COVID-19 on education is impressive, and actually, according to a UNICEF report, there are 98.5% of the world's students' population that has been affected. Actually, when I'm reading these kind of numbers, I'm still wondering where are the 1.5% that have not been impacted. I'm still wondering. Actually, I'm sure it's due to the lack of data, because I think it's like 100% of students have been impacted by the COVID-19. So now, impacted. What do we mean by impacted? Now we are in the second wave of the COVID. So it means that we faced with the first wave. So we can talk about impact. We know. Now we have a kind of experience of during this last months. We have a first experience of the COVID. That was not the case. Few months ago, we just faced with sudden MCO, movement control order, and suddenly, in Malaysia, I don't know exactly in Bangladesh, but in Malaysia, we have been informed by the government mid of March. They say, okay, for 2 weeks, there is MCO, movement control order, so that's it. So what we decided to do is like, okay, we will have to go online in order to be sure that everything is okay. But actually, we decided to postpone semester for 2 weeks. We just say, okay, fair enough, we start in 2 weeks. Okay, everything will move in 2 weeks, and that's it. This is what we did at the very beginning. We were a bit naive in the way of dealing with the situation. But then when came and said, okay, MCO for 1 month, then we say, okay, we cannot postpone. We really have to start now online. But then we had to do it in the rush. And moreover, we had to start online while actually we were ready to go on campus. So first of all, we face with a lot of technical aspects, as you can guess, as a lot of you face with internet connectivity for staff and students. You know, sometimes at home, we know that internet is not so good. We have to use the hotspot, and all of us, we went through this problem. But when you have to teach 2 hours or 1 hour and these kind of things, when you are organizing a webinar, these kind of things, it's important to have a good internet connectivity. So that was a very big point. Another aspect that was a problem for us, or a challenge at the beginning, was the fact that some staff, they didn't have the specific devices to teach technical modules online. So I'm the head of School of Accounting, and in my school we have finance and economics, banking and finance, finance and accounting, and actuarial studies. And actuarial studies is a lot of mathematics, actually, only. So that means that, how is it possible to write, a lot of derivations and these kind of things and equations without device? Because you are used to do it on campus, but some staff, they don't have, the specific device to write clearly the equations online. So that was very tricky. So what to do then? Because then we start to teach online, but we are not equipped for that at home. I mean, at least at home. On campus, we have everything, but at home, we don't have that. And moreover, people cannot go out of their home because it's movement control order. So they are not allowed to go out. So what to do exactly in that case? That was quite tricky. I'm going to show you kind of a solution that we did at the very, very beginning. And now the organization of the online examinations for technical modules. And I'm thinking here for the equations again, how to write equations in Word or Excel. You cannot write the equations, the derivations, and all the details of the proof, of the theorems and the lem and these kind of things that we are used to do in mathematics. So that was a tricky point. I'm going to share with you now. So for the questions here, for the point here, like some staff, they didn't have the specific devices to teach and write the equations. And actually, this MCO at the very beginning was tricky, but it was also an opportunity to show that the staff can have a lot of creativity. So we didn't know what to do at the very beginning, that they didn't have this material. So one of my staff, actually, he came and he said, okay, look, I think I can do something. And he came with this video that he shared with all lecturers. So I'm talking at the very, very beginning of the MCO, okay? MCO for 1 month, and we start the teaching. And a lot of staff contacting me and say, oh, we don't have, the specific device, digital devices. I order one online, but I will have it in 3 weeks, or what to do in the meanwhile. And then this staff came and say, look, this video, I just record this video, and I think it could be useful for colleagues. So it's just a way of, as you can see there, it's just using the phone here, as you can see on the top of the boxes, the phone as a camera in order to actually record all the usual writing of the equations, and then the students can see on their screen on their side, they can see the lecturer here on a small camera, and then they can see the normal camera here. So I think that was very useful to do these kind of things. But again, this staff, this colleague is actually a lecturer in accounting, and he came with this idea to help his colleagues, and he did very well. But that's faced with the same problem that show the resilience and the creativity of the staff to help each other. And that was a very first point that I want to emphasize, to see how the team can work together in order to find a solution and to go forward and to go through this context. Since when? Sorry, I have to say that we are not using that anymore. That was at the very beginning. Now we have the experience, we had time, so we had time to buy all the devices that we need. Now all lecturers, they have their specific device that they can use to write in a more professional way, let's say. the equations and these kind of things. But at the very beginning, I think it's nice to emphasize how actually the pandemics force people to be creative and to be resilient. Okay. Another point, other impacts on the business degree and my school and the university there. As I told you at the very beginning, we just delayed the March semester for 2 weeks. Anyway, it was a bit naive because that changed nothing. We had to go online, even though we were not really completely ready for that at the very beginning. So we had, like everyone, we had to jump into online teaching in the rush. So some students at the very beginning, they decided to postpone and not to start the studies now, because they were like, okay, I will just wait, next semester will be okay. In August, that will be okay. So some of them, at the very beginning, I got a lot of emails, a lot of calls. Then I talked with the parents and I explained that, okay, look, we can do it. We know where we are and these kind of things. And actually, some of them at the very beginning really wanted, but so big at the end. Simply because there is an opportunity cost for all people who want to defer for 1 year. If you say that, oh, I will wait 1 year, okay, maybe, but there is an opportunity cost. It's 1 year that you will not work in the future. So that means that the salary that you could have had if you would have finished your studies earlier, this kind of things, it's also, you have to keep into consideration these aspects. Another point, as you can guess, for business degree and finance and accounting, internship for students is very important. Luckily, we were very good. I mean, we were very happy to see that our industry partners, they actually accepted to offer internship online and to work online with our students. So at least we have not been really affected on this point. So the new teaching mode, I'm going to give you some words about that because that's very interesting. The facilities, as you can guess, well, we have a business incubator on the campus. We have a trading room on the campus. I'm going to show you some picture after. But we were not able to use that. So that was a big impact as well. I'm going to share with you what we decided to do. The last point here is professional bodies. Biggest, probably for me personally, the biggest challenges of this COVID-19 is related to the way of we organized our online examinations. Okay, I'm going to share with you. There is one slide on that. All right. Now, I just want to show about this new teaching mode there. I putting this point. What do I mean? I mean that this way of teaching online really created a new kind of interaction between students and lecturer. So here, for example, it's one module, Introduction to Finance. It's on YouTube Live. And this lecturer actually decided to, like all of us, and to do it in a quite creative way. And actually, it's not the only one. A lot of lecturers did that. Usually before the COVID-19, when I was checking about online teaching and this kind of things like Coursera or EDX and this kind of platform, what we are used to see is a very informal teaching. The background is very professional or neutral and very professional. And there is someone like teaching in front of, and show some videos, but very neutral. And I think that with the COVID-19, things change on this because everyone were at home. So because they were at home and they were not necessarily good with the technology, so everyone can see actually the house of everyone. Of course, you can put the background, but all the lecturers are not aware about that. They didn't know, at least at the very beginning, they didn't know. Now they are aware, but they didn't know at the very beginning. Especially old, maybe colleagues, they were not aware at all with the technology and this kind of things. So they were just sharing, the environment, the everyday environment. And this is actually exactly the point that some lecturers decided to use to make the interaction more interesting. And this is, for example, this lecturer, he's cooking, but he's teaching finance. But by his way of cooking there, you see carrots, onions, by showing this, different repartitions of vegetables in a recipe, he explains, actually, this video is related to balance sheet, introduction to a balance sheet. What is a balance sheet? You have more debt, more this, more that, exactly the same in a recipe. And that's quite interesting because he's at home, he's cooking, and he's teaching at the same time, and it is YouTube Live. And this kind of interaction, the students really love that because they have the feeling that they say, oh, actually, I feel, it's not so informal, even though we are not on campus. It's a bit, it's a screen, so there is a distance with the lecture. But the way the lecturer will teach by being at home, cooking, it's like, oh, it's still, we can keep a kind of interaction. And that's very, very interesting, because I noticed that several lecturers did that. He's not the only one. Here is it's just an example, but several lecturers did this, and students really love that, actually. That's interesting. The students love this interaction with, this new kind of interaction with lecturers. I think an opportunity to think about a new way of delivering online teaching, not so neutral, not so formal, sorry, but maybe into something more, personal, more sharing. That was interesting, actually, to see this. Yeah, that an opportunity. I mean, a big challenge that became an opportunity is related to online exams, and I think that was the biggest challenges for me, simply because we really have to think about. As you can guess, in accounting, we have a lot of professional bodies. We have like more than 5 professional bodies that they give us accreditations for our modules in accounting and finance. We want to keep these accreditations. We actually need to ensure that every student will actually reply to every single questions. So that was in green, you can see here, that's the questions that I had to reply to every professional bodies. What are the mechanisms to avoid students' collusion online? And what will you do in order to be sure that every single student will answer to every single question? So that's a very big question mark. And at the very beginning, for me, it was a big question mark. Because if you just use Turnitin, for the plagiarism, that doesn't work, okay? Because you don't know who did what. Because when it is online, the students can chat each other by phone and say, okay, I'm doing question 2, you do question 1. And we can have a collusion. And we need to implement an online proctored exam that every student will actually reply individually to every single questions. So we had to think a lot about that. Actually, I observed that in education, at least in the UK and in Malaysia, there are two ways of dealing with this problem. Some universities, they just had a kind of very light interaction with the professional bodies, and they say, okay, we will do our best, don't worry. And they do their exams, and they put a disclaimer on their website saying that given the crisis context, the university cannot guarantee that the accreditation, the professional accreditation will be delivered. That's it. Then that means that the students are not sure that they will have the accreditation at the end when they have the degree. Another path that we decided to do in Telos is to interact almost every day with all professional bodies, asking them, okay, what about if we do this? Okay, yes, no, why? What about if we do that? This, if we work on that? And honestly, it was a headache, but it works because what they want at the end is to be sure that everyone is serious, and they want to ensure the academic integrity, and we want the same as well. So it was a learning process, but actually at the end of the day, we were able to keep all our professional accreditations. So we put on our website another information saying that we guarantee that even though we are in this crisis context, we guarantee that we keep all professional accreditation for our degrees, as you can guess. But that was really, really challenging for us. If there is any questions later, I can come back on this aspect. The point that I wanted to mention is the fact that this crisis was actually a good opportunity for us to optimize our facilities. In Telos, and actually we didn't wait for COVID before having a virtual learning environment. We started in 2012, actually what we call a rewind, a lecture capture system. Every time we have a class on campus, everything is recorded, and this video can actually be watched by students at home. And actually, we were doing that before. Actually, every semester we have one online week that we were doing everything online. But we did only 1 week, so we were not ready for a full semester, but we were used to do that 1 week per semester. And with this specific rewind lecture capture system, we actually, students can see all the lecture have been recorded systematically. So we were doing that before COVID. And of course, now that we are in COVID, right now we are in just the August semester. We are in a blended mode of teaching. So we still offer online, but we are also offering on campus for a specific number of students for some of our modules due to social distancing, as you can guess. So that means that the lecturer is teaching on campus, and some students can attend, and other students actually can see online live the teaching and can also interact via a screen if they have questions. Well, we had that before, actually, before the COVID, the usual technology for teaching online. We had that before, we were using that before, but since we are facing the COVID, we are using more and more, as you can guess, and it's part now of the teaching requirement for our lecture. So what I wanted to say is the fact, like, this kind of facilities that we had before the COVID, we actually now can really use and optimize them by doing more. The point that I was mentioning before is the fact that, we have a trading room. Here we have some picture here of our trading room. We just inaugurated this trading room last December, so it was very new. And then 4 months later, we have the COVID. We're very unlucky. But then what to do? We cannot bring the students on campus. And we are offering also normally the Bloomberg Market Certificate that we integrated in our modules in portfolio management. We decided to bring the trading room to our students since they cannot go physically on campus. As you can guess, we have a classical trading room by using the Bloomberg terminals. In our agreement with Bloomberg, we don't have the Bloomberg Online. That's what we don't have. I mean, if we have on this trading room, it's another actually contract that we might have. And then here, negotiate with Bloomberg, for them to understand the situation, and Bloomberg very open-minded and very understand. They understood very well, and they say, okay, let's do it. Let's be sure that the students in Taylor's can actually have the Bloomberg Market Certificate online. They can have access to all this information if they are at home. So since the students were not able to come on campus to enjoy our facilities, we tried to bring the facilities to our students. I'm arriving at the end here. What I wanted to show you is just some challenges and evoke some we implemented. The solutions that we implemented are not necessarily the best, because we are just faced with the COVID like everyone. But I think that generally speaking, the very challenging situation can be seen as a way of improving our teaching. And this is exactly when I actually use the COVID-19 context as a case study. When we want to teach something, this is what we did. We used the context to say, okay, look, let's talk about the economic data. Let's have a look on what's happening on the COVID, and that's why I put this graph, because we were using to teach. So it's using actually the context for the teaching and also for improving the way of teaching and learning. The last thing that I would like to mention, a little bit advertisement, but I think it's important because we really work a lot on the online stuff in Taylor's. I think all these efforts have been internationally recognized. We have a good record now, number 379 in the QS ranking. We got the 5-star for the online learning framework, and we are the best private university in Malaysia and Southeast Asia for all the reasons that I mentioned there. And I think again, the key challenges, if you ask me, the key challenge for me was the online exams. Professional bodies will actually accept our way of doing, and they will still accept to give us the accreditations. That actually was the biggest challenge for my school. luckily, I have a beautiful and wonderful team to work with, and all of us, we were able to do it. And that's it on my side. I'm going to stop to share my screen and come back here. Thanks a lot for listening. And again, feel free to ask any kind of questions, because as you can see, I think I could talk 20 minutes on every slice and every point that actually I evoke there. I can really give much more information, so feel free to ask. I'm more than happy to interact with you later. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Professor Shinkas, for your enlightening presentation and experience sharing. As a professor of finance, I really can relate, most of the things that you have said now, about these difficulties of teaching equation and finance courses. And I'm really impressed with many of the creative things that your faculty have developed, like, sharing those equations, and also about this example of teaching a balance sheet with cooking material. Was quite interesting. And also we also have implemented this online semester here at IUB. Like the things that you have shared, we can relate, and we have one semester experience on doing that one, and we'll have to sit with our top management in order to decide about how we are going to manage the next semester learning from this example. Sure, a lot of things we can relate, and we'll take for. I know many of you have question, and we are not taking question now. We would like to request you to note it down kindly. At the end of all the presentation, we'll have some time for open discussion. At that point of time, if you have any question to any of this speaker, you can then ask it. So now, if you allow me, I would like to go to our next presenter, who is Associate Professor Dr. Haltom Hussain. Dr. Hussain is head of media and communication at Al-Bukhari International University. I would like to request Dr. Hussain to share her own experience at the Al-Bukhari University on the same topic, like how you are coping up, what are the challenges, and how you are looking for these solutions. And if you have any suggestion for us, you can please share it with us. Dr. Hussain, to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson, Dr. Sawar. I did not prepare any slides, but I can just share the narratives from AIU. Okay, Prof. Chris has just mentioned about the pandemic COVID-19 situation in Malaysia. So Al-Bukhari International University, the acronym is AIU, is situated in North Malaysia in Kedah. We have been operating for the past 3 years. So it's, I mean, in terms of comparison, in terms of operating the university, we've got the very least number of years. But however, the staff, the academic staff and the management, as well as the executive, are a mixture of some experienced professors and our new academics joining the university. Okay, like I said, I'm sharing some narratives from AIU. Actually, yes, I have been entrusted to become the head of media and communication. But however, I'm talking about for this past 1 and 2 years, I will talk about how School of Education and Human Sciences in AIU, as well as how School of Business and Social Science operates during the COVID-19. Right. So now, when this outbreak of pandemic COVID in March 2020, and when the government had enforced NCO, at that moment of time, AIU was just starting the first week of the new SEM. All right. Yeah, it was the first week of the new SEM. And then we were, back to our own shell and try to deliver our lessons. But okay, before that, let me tell you that AIU is recruiting international students, at least from 38 countries. And these students, they are from, what shall I say? This university is a philanthropy university. We are recruiting brilliant students, good students to come in, and at some circumstances, they are given some scholarship. to pursue their studies. All right, they are from some let me say some poor countries. Okay, so that is one. So when this outbreak came into the situation, we were thinking of what is the best delivery, what is the best method. But before that, in time, we had already been exposed to like conducting lessons, blended learning, and so forth, and utilizing free softwares, you know, and on off in our lesson. But when the pandemic, when there was an outbreak of this pandemic, we go online, 100% online, and most of academics in AIU had opted for to make use of Google Classroom, because there in Google Classroom we can store our materials, right? We have a sequence of what we are doing for that particular moment of time. So it's like a record that we are delivering our lessons. So like Prof. Chris says, I think the challenges that we face here is that some of the students, it's not just the internet access, internet quality, but sometimes there are also students without a computer, all right? Without a computer. So, and at that moment of time, I think the management of AIU had planned for something better for them to come and access computers in the lab or something like that. I'm not sure because we were away. But however, the lesson had been conducted well. But then I see that the challenges here is that the issue of internet quality, it must go beyond the issue of access. You know, we want a high-speed internet connection, because without that, it would be a failure in terms of getting access and connected. So, and then what else I say about teaching and learning? Okay, the university had in place the LMS, Learning Management System. But however, like I said, it was just in the midst of putting system in place, and in the end, everyone resort to Google Classroom. Okay, and then there's another adverse effect where students in AIU face, because they are international students. They are not allowed to leave the country during that moment of time. So we see that some of them, these long periods of self-isolation, because they are advised to be in their room, in their respective room, in the hostels, in the students' accommodation. So they had some adverse impact on psychology as well. Our counselings and guidance sections from time to time will be with them to console, to motivate them, so that they will be motivated back to their online teaching and learn back onto their online learning. So that is part of it. And then I see that I also see that the university had to redefine the digital learning pedagogy as pedagogy. All right, the practices. All right, for we to adopt, so that both parties, lecturers can deliver effective lectures, and students can absorb their learning as well. But at that moment of time, I did, from my own experience, I deliver my courses. Sometimes it's online, but sometimes it's synchronized, and sometimes this is asynchronized. All right, just to make sure that the students will have ample time to download the materials, and they can learn at their own self-pace. So that was how the lessons were delivered. I think this is about common across all lecturers in AIU, Al-Bukhari International University. All right, I think the rest have, and then when Prof. Chris mentioned about examinations, yes, that was a big challenge as well as at AIU. So the non-technical subjects, like, where equations is involved, where calculations is involved, what we did is we transformed the assessment into examination to open book examination, and the questions are of high level, where students need to synthesize information, where students need to evaluate, because we try to minimize students from copying each other, from cut and paste and these kind of things. So then we limited the time so that they don't have time to talk, but just to think and write. So that was what we did. But I think this is practical for some social sciences courses where we don't need any, writing of equations, calculations, and so forth. And then over in AIU is that even our research activities was totally shut off. All right, we are not able to go to site to collect data and so forth. And so you see the postponement of research of scientific conferences, it was a complete stop. But however, I think now we are back. AIU is now releasing some fund to our partnering universities to conduct research in relation to COVID-19. For example, the latest one that we are working on is on the collaboration between 4 universities, public universities and international universities, to look into this teaching and learning as well, teaching and learning as a parameter in align to during the COVID-19. And then I also see that in AIU, we also had students, when we had offered them for this October intake, some students had to reject a deferment of intakes and so forth. We need to adjust the time and so forth. This kind of like things that we have to look as a whole, so that our students in every parts of the world will not be excluded. All right. And then I think another issue that I wish to raise here is because of the international mobility. Like I said, AIU recruited 80% of AIU students are from international universities. So that affects us as much as other universities that practice about recruiting international university. I think that much, Dr. Sawa from AIU. And yeah, before that, I wish to let everyone know that Al-Bukhari inaugural chancellor is Professor Muhammad Yunus from Bangladesh. So I think that's a credit to that, because Prof Yunus is the founder for the Yunus Center Yunus School Business Center, Social Business Center. So with that, I'll come back with later on if there are questions to attend. So thank you, Dr. Sawar.
Thank you, Dr. Hossain. It's an honor for us. It's an honor for Bangladesh that you have just mentioned about Professor Yunus. Thank you so much. Many things that you have just mentioned about the target group of student, clearly that matches with the context of Bangladesh. We have some students who are attending classes from rural areas, and they have still issues with this equipment about having laptop. So we can clearly relate. Thank you for sharing your experience. Like I have just said, if you have question, you can share it in the chat box, or we'll have some open session after all these presentations, and at the point of time you can raise those questions. Next, I would invite Professor Dr. Nazmun Nahar from North-South University. Is our next guest speaker. Professor Nazmun Nahar is the director of IQAC at North-South University. You can see her detailed profile that we are sharing here. So I would like to request Professor Nazmun to share her experience. I would like to request to talk about the challenges and readiness of the higher education institution in Bangladesh. She can talk on behalf of the private universities in Bangladesh, and what are the challenges you have faced or still you are facing at North-South, and how do you plan to meet these challenges, or you have already met it, and how do you perceive the impact of COVID-19 in higher education institutions of Bangladesh in the coming semesters? If you can please share with us. So Professor Nazmun, to you.
Thank you, Professor Sarwar. Thanks for inviting me here. I'm really honored to be here, and as listening to Professor Christophe and Professor Kazim Hussain, and our experience is similar. Let me present. I prepared like a brief slide, presentation. Do you see the
Yes,
presentation?
yes, we can see the presentation.
Okay, sure. So thank you again, and I'd like to start by saying our responses, how we responded to this pandemic situation at North-South University. So first of all, like my mantra in this COVID-19 pandemic was to set realistic expectations. And I got these lines from the American Mathematical Society. Let me read it out for you, that in the current situation, as a faculty member, you don't need to become an expert in online course delivery. Your course won't be perfect and it won't be the same as it was in the classroom. And that is okay. Give yourself permission to just do the best you can do. I mean, this seems to me like, this is something I was looking for because with the COVID-19 situation, as the faculty members who were experiencing classroom teaching all on a sudden coming to online and not getting that satisfaction, when we were teaching online, this line seems perfect to me, that I can take some realistic approach to this. So how much I can do actually as a faculty member, and how much I can expect from the students in this pandemic situation, how much I can expect from my parent institution in terms of logistic support and everything. I should make some realistic, I should set some realistic goal and, expectation. And with that thinking, I found that it really set the ground for me to, and for us as the faculty members, to move forward in this pandemic situation. So having said that, the way at North-South University we responded is that at the beginning it was more like we were in a firefighting mode, and the university really responded very fast. They started training the faculty members to how to use the Google Classroom, how to use Google Meet, and students were also brought on board. However, we didn't have much time to discuss with the students, but it seems from IQAC, I see that both the students and faculty members, they responded quite positively about the online classes. We didn't receive that many complaints about the online class in the spring semester. Well, when so we somehow handled the spring semester, I would say, quite well. And when the summer term started, we felt that now it is time to move from tackling the situation to quality online teaching, because now we need to focus on the quality. And by now we have actually gained some experience and maturity. Our faculty members are a little bit more confident now about teaching online. So when the question of quality came in, the IQAC stepped in. So the IQAC, we organized several experience sharing programs among the faculty members, and for each school, we arranged those programs separately so that faculty members had the opportunity to openly discuss about their challenges and some probable solutions. And one of the good things that came out from those sharing sessions is that the university authority, after listening from the faculty members of the School of Engineering and Physical Sciences that they're having hard time teaching mathematical courses, they agreed to give a digital writing pad to all the faculty members of School of Engineering. So that's a good thing. We are really happy about that, even though it took some time to bring them here. So hopefully, we have it now. So we couldn't use them in summer session, but in fall session, we are ready to use the digital writing pads. So that's a good thing that came out from those experience sharing sessions. We also organized sessions on online teaching strategies in collaboration with Stony Brook University, and we developed a strategy document. I'll show you in my next slide. I will show you that just a brief snapshot what that strategy document looked like. So the faculty members discussed about the challenges, and they came up with the solution. So it was more like a how-to questions, set of how-to questions, and the responses to those how-to questions. In mid-summer, we also organized another set of sessions among the faculty members to share tips and techniques on online teaching, because some of our faculty members are, really tech savvy, and they actually showed us, like people like me, I really benefited from those sessions. On the student side, the university by now, because we see that with the advancement of the COVID situation, the students are facing some like financial challenges. So the university decided to give 20% waiver to all the students. And then the faculty members also shared some student guidelines in their Google Classroom, like, showing empathy and like how to deal with this situation together. So that also they shared in their Google Classroom. Considering the mental situation of the students, considering their mental well-being, the proctor office arranged some student programs like, suicide prevention programs. So those kind of programs were arranged by the proctor office. So this is like a teacher's guideline that the IQAC developed, and for the faculty members, and the issues that were covered were like the technical matters, how to take the preparation, what should be the etiquette, like the classroom etiquette in this environment, and then the faculty-student communication. Now that they're using social media and many other, avenues to reach the students, to deal with the students, where is the fine line, how to deal with that, how to manage an online classroom, how to engage our students in the online classroom. Those are some of the challenges we were having. And finally, of course, as other facilitators talked about, the student assessment, definitely that was a challenge. However, the key message that I wanted to give from IQAC to all the faculty members is that don't forget that we are going through a very unusual situation, and our students need our support more than ever. So we need to make them feel that we are part of the big family, we trust each other, and we're going to care for each other. So we are going to go through this situation together. So that kind of an assurance, that kind of a fellow feeling we wanted to give to our students and also to our faculty members. So this is the strategy document I was talking about. So we just came up with like some questions, and then answers to those questions. And I see that the faculty members really found this document very useful for them. So now, talking about the challenges from the faculty perspective side, I think the challenges right now we're having is that I find that the faculty members are really stressed out. Because the online classes is taking a lot of effort, and also thinking of considering the situation, the pandemic situation. Some faculty members, they are affected by COVID, their family members are affected by COVID. So altogether, it's kind of, I find that they are a little bit stressed out. The STEM faculty members, they are somewhat dissatisfied about the quality of the delivery. They're not fully satisfied. Like I myself, I teach a two mathematical courses, and I find it like I'm not really satisfied with the way I'm teaching. I'm trying, but I think, as I said, my mantra, doing the best as I can do. But the dissatisfaction is still there. And there is a frustration regarding the student assessment, because the issue of the trust is a major concern. Also, as we are talking about take-home exam or assignment, we find that there is lack of academic resources while preparing those kind of assignment. We lack enough academic resources. Poor student engagement in the classroom is an issue. We're finding that. And finally, I think from faculty perspective, added frustration due to lack of research activity. On the other hand, from student perspective, students not yet accustomed to the concept of self-learning. That's what we found out. And then that because we see that in online teaching and learning environment, the responsibility of self-learning is quite a lot. So students are yet to get used to this idea. They complain about the poor internet connectivity, power outage, which is true, which is happening. We faculty members, we also complain about this. And a section of students, they feel that faculty members are not showing enough empathy to them, that we hear from some of the students. And of course, they are also frustrated because they cannot come to the campus. They don't have the friends. They cannot do group works. And so a little bit of low motivation on the student side too. Some students are also depressed. And that's what I said, that our Proctor office, they organize some student programs to elevate their motivation level. So way forward, I would say that the way I see it, that there's no alternative to engagement and enlightenment and then enhancement. So I say engage, enlighten, and enhance. At the end of the summer semester, I think IQAC will organize some discussion session among the faculty members to see what went well, what didn't go well, what are the high points and low points, and how they are looking forward to make improvements in the coming semester, assuming the coming semester will be online too. At the beginning of fall semester, I would like to organize discussion sessions among the faculty members and students, where both of them can share their feelings, and we'd like to come to a shared understanding that there are challenges. However, we both are committed to face the challenges together, and would like to repeat the meeting in the middle of the semester too. Since student assessment is a major concern, I was thinking that from IQAC we'll arrange small group sessions for individual schools, and they will discuss how to prepare the student assessment, and they'll develop a set of strategies and guidelines that will be hopefully be useful for the faculty members. Another thing I thought, on a general level, national level, like for the higher education sector of Bangladesh, I'm thinking of more of flexibility, freedom, and independence. So independent decision by the faculty members, they should be able to take some decision regarding how to teach and how to assist their students. Similarly, teachers should show flexibility while dealing with the students, they shouldn't be too strict with the students, considering the situation, give the benefit of doubt to the students as much as they can. And also, I think in a university or even a department or a school should have the freedom in dealing with student assessment. The way I see is that since all of us are trying some new things, with this freedom, I think some good things will come out of it. Some good practices we can see in terms of student assessment. So finally, I would say that this whole new this pandemic situation has opened the path for collaboration and cooperation, and it's both like national and international. Like the kind of webinars we are having right now, where our international guests are coming. I don't think we thought of this like before COVID situation. So the new opportunities are out there. We have to seek new opportunities, and sharing experiences among the universities, I think, will help us to gain collective improvement, and we can take the higher education sector of Bangladesh to a new level. And with that hope, I'd like to finish it here. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Nazmon, for sharing your experience at North-South, for introducing different initiatives that you, as the director of IQAC and North-South has taken during this particular semester. And I would like to echo your feeling that now that we have completed one semester, and the students and faculty members are well in a position to know what they can expect, how to motivate them, how to build on this experience and to go forward for the next semester. That will be another big challenge for us to put them in the same boat. Thank you very much for sharing your experience. Now, I would like to move to our next speaker. Shift now, we will move from our private university setting to the public university. So we have our speaker from the public university. So we'd like to know from him. Our speaker is Dr. Mohammad Ashraful Firdaus Choudhury. He is associate professor from Shahjalal University of Science and Technology. And we understand that things are a little bit different in what is going on in our private university and in public university. So we'd like to listen from him. What are the challenges that they're facing, how they're coping up with the situation, and how they're solving this problem. Please.
Thank you, Professor Dr. Sarauddin Ahmed, Honorable Vice Chancellor Acting Professor Dr. Milan Pagon, distinguished guest Professor Dr. Christophe, special guest Dr. Sultan Mahmoud Bhuiya, special guest from North South University Professor Dr. Najmun Nahar, and another special guest from Malaysia, Professor Dr. Khaltum Hussain, and other viewers. Assalamu alaikum. As Professor Sarwar rightly said, my background is somehow different from the others. So I try to explain you how my perspective is different from others and what measures we have taken. But my examples would be made based on the common, the general scenario which is happening in public universities. But I would also try to give you some examples based on my university, what decisions and steps have been taken by our administration. I would try to emphasize on that. So in order to do that, I need to share my presentation slide. Could you allow me to do that?
Yes, sure.
Can you see my slide, please?
Yes, you can see.
Okay. So it's really nice to be here because it's a very timely issue. So we are actually here to discuss about the higher education responses, challenges, and solution. And I'd like to convey my gratitude to the IUB for inviting me to present this. I will give you some examples and some ideas from my own experience and some general information that I have. Before I move on, I would like to give you some background information actually about the pandemic. Prof. Christophe has already mentioned about that, but I would give you some side ideas. As you can see, as of September 2020, the death toll reached to more than 1 million already. And economic perception made by forecasting made by ADB, Asian Development Bank, they said the global GDP will decline from 6.4 to 9.7%, which amounts to 5.8 to 8.8 trillion. I think Prof. Christophe has also mentioned that. So if the situation is like that, I think you would definitely agree with that the education sector would also be highly disrupted. So in our country, especially in Bangladesh, as you know, we have 46 public universities, 105 private universities, and almost 1,500 colleges affiliated to the national universities. So this is the excuse me. Okay, so so this is the overall situation. But as you can see here, as we have already moved to the digitalization and online classes, I would give you some brief idea about the background of the internet subscribers and internet statistics in our country. You can see here, there was a statistics survey made by the Bangladesh Bureau of Statistics. Here in Bangladesh, 37.6% of households has some access to the internet. Only 5.6% have computer or tablet, and half of the homes have had TV. And interestingly, the mobile data in Bangladesh is the costliest among the 3 South Asian countries, India and Sri Lanka actually. So the reason for expressing this is actually how it is costly to attend in the class. And you see in the last budget, the cost of the mobile call and internet bill has been increased from 10% to 15%. Overall increase has been reached to 33.25 from 27.25. And 87% of the public university students have a smartphone. This is a good sign. But the problem is they are unable to afford the money for buying the mobile data. So that was the situation at the beginning of the pandemic. I'm trying to show you so that it would be easier for you to understand the real situation. But having this limited resources, an interesting thing is that the government has taken very good steps, especially for the public universities. We found that the Bangladesh Research and Education Network, BDRN, responded helping universities setting up the institutional accounts on Zoom. In my university, I can tell you that we started taking class from the 30th March, only 4 days after the government government announcements. So what I'm trying to tell you is that having these limited resources, we were mentally ready to start taking classes. And we are the only public university in Bangladesh who started taking class online on 30th March, which was no other university took this kind of initiative. And I thank to my Vice Chancellor, Professor Fariduddin Ahmed, for taking this very good initiative. And then free mobile data, this was another responses we took, especially for providing the mobile data to the indigent students in our university. Because there is one story I can tell you here. The public universities are actually to some extent different from private universities, especially from the background aspects, because the majority of the students are coming from different areas and different part of the country. And the income level of the public university students to some extent is middle or lower middle income. I think you would all agree with that. But that doesn't mean that there is no rich student, but we also have rich students, but majority of them are actually from very middle class or lower middle class family. So this is one situation that we need to understand why the online class was actually difficult to start. So mobile data to the indigent students has already been initiated by UGC as well, because recently UGC has also asked universities to provide the list of the students for providing the mobile data, meaning that the support for providing the mobile data has already been started. Even the Teletalk Bangladesh has provided the internet bandwidth to students only at 100 taka, which is very low and affordable. And here in my university, I can tell you, we also have provided the soft loan to the students, even to the faculties for purchasing computer, because our university took a very good decision for providing the loan to the young faculties, especially to the lecturer and assistant professors, to purchase computer and some other equipments. And we also have been provided a certain amount of money for buying for accessories and everything for taking classes. And I can show you a source here. As of early August 2020, an average of, it is not the statistics of my own university, it's the statistics for the whole country. An average of around 3,800 classes are held online daily, with more than 220,000 students in attendance. Thus far, already 200 classes have been conducted to more than 9.2 million attendees by 10,200 faculty members. So the point that I'm trying to tell you is that even though we had a lot of limitations, having a lot of limited resources, but the question of positive efforts is actually should be appreciated. I mean, there should not be any question about the efforts. Everybody was trying to give their best from their own perspective. As a faculty member, and I also agree with Prof. Christophe as a faculty of a finance, I'd say I have some similar problems that you are also facing. But from the university aspects, I truly believe the main challenges are actually the exam assessment and evaluation system. Because, you know, in our universities, especially in public universities, the examination process is somehow different. Here, we actually provide two examiners. The first examiner is the person who is conducting the course, and the second examiner would be like the external. So the two person will make the questions, and finally it will be moderated by an expert group of faculties who might be invited from other universities. So it's a long process to fix the question. So the problem is, if we, in this particular pandemic situation, we don't know how to fix the question, how to finalize the questions, and how the question format it would be. Because as you know, here the bureaucratic system is somehow different, because the question must be set by the question committee. So there is a committee. So this is one kind of problem. Again, the second problem is assessment. How do you assess the problem? As you know, still a lot of students are out of the internet services because of poor network and because of the mobile data. And still some students are actually saying they are actually out of the network. So how do you take the exam? This is something yet to be decided. And I'm sure our senior faculties and the decision should come from the top management of the country, I think. I'm sure the seniors are also thinking about that. But this is a big issue for the public universities. As I said, the exam paper is actually checked by two examiners. So in this particular case, how do we tackle this issue? We are yet to decide this. Second, the interrupted admission and degree award, because this is another important issue. In public universities, okay, we have exams, especially after intermediate HSC, higher school certificate exam. But as you know, this time the HSC exam has not been started yet. So this could be an issue. And degree award means I actually wanted to point out about the students who are actually almost close to finish their degree, almost finished their degree. They are actually waiting to get that degree and to apply to job and to maybe to go for an scholarship or everything. So they are actually also waiting because of that. And of course, the disrupted operational activities. As you know, everything was closed for 2 or 3 months. But even though we started our operation immediately after the pandemic, but still some operations are actually disrupted. From the faculty aspects, I think this is a very important issue in the recent days. I'm sure some of you have already seen it in the newspaper, that the risk of termination and non-payment of salary in some private universities. So I have a lot of my friends who are working in some private universities, and I personally know how they are facing this problem. Poor network, this is something is unavoidable here. Even though we have some good Wi-Fi connections, but still it is a big problem. And electricity, there is no control, as you know. Unavailability of materials to the online class. I think this is also another important issue, because our students are actually, they are used to read the book physically. I mean, that they really wants the hard copy. They don't actually used to on the soft copy. But in the recent days, last 2 and 3 months, I personally find that, okay, they are now getting used to on it. But before that, they actually said, so, sir, I don't have any hard copy. How may I get the book? And the other problem is the soft copy of all kinds of subjects are not even available. So this is another problem. For example, the subjects like Bengali literature, you may not get the soft copy. How do you give it to your students? So, but in my case, as I am a faculty of finance and business, we have some books of soft copies. I also have bought some books, so I can give it to my students, and I could even produce slides. But again, it is difficult to provide all kinds of materials to all students every time. And the lack of device, of course, this is another problem. But our university has, as I said, the administration has provided us a certain amount of money for purchasing the devices. So right now we are out of this problem. So we are actually performing well in this case. But the interaction in the class environment is a big issue. As Professor Najmun Nahar said from North-South, yeah, interaction is obviously interaction has been disrupted because of noise. Sometimes there are some noise comes from their house. Sometimes it is difficult to take class from my end as well. So these are issues which are unavoidable. And I talked to some students, especially it's like a focus group study. So I actually asked them what problem you are actually facing. So some major problems they faced, actually the insufficiency of devices, because as I mentioned, very few, only 37.5% people has the internet, and little amount of people, I mean the very fraction of people are actually has the the mobile phone, the smartphone. Even though 87% people have a mobile phone from the public university aspect, but they do not have mobile data. So poor network is another problem. Electricity shortage, especially in the rural areas. Some of my students said, sir, it is a big problem because electricity is not available every time. Problems in preparing assignments and group work, because sometimes we actually give them some assignments for providing for finishing assignments and providing some article and assignments with the group work. So, but it is not it is not possible here at this moment because of the pandemic, because they can't meet each other, because some of them are actually from different parts of the countries. So it's quite difficult. And as Prof. Christophe mentioned, yeah, it is also difficult to take classes in the lab and mathematics courses, especially I usually teach econometrics. So you can easily assume how difficult it would be to teach econometrics in online. Although I share my screen to give the lecture, the lab class, but sometimes it is not fruitful enough to see how good they are to understand. Some students actually said they have suffering about the eye strain and headache. And another problem is that some female students actually, they're frightened to open their videos, especially about some social safety and some other issues. As you know, there are some problem might be arise. So because of that, some other parties, some unwanted people could even come to the Zoom class. Who knows? So these sort of issues actually they are facing. So my perspective is I have some ideas. You can that's what I can share you. The short-term policy could be like the learning management LMS, because in most of the public universities we do not have learning management system or LMS or content management system. But you would be happy to know that our Shahjalan University has already contacted to the A2I of our country, and we're gonna start LMS very soon, hopefully by the next week. So we would be the first public university who would start the learning management system, and I'm sure it will be helpful to the students, because so that we can store our class lecture, and they can even download from anytime, from anywhere. And of course, there are some lot of facilities and advantages of LMS. Alternative exam assessment policy, this is also important, because in public university, as I mentioned earlier, our exam policy is somehow different. Every exam paper has been checked by 2 examiners, and if there is any, suppose there is a big gap in the marks, then software will tell it should be needed for third examiner. So it's a long process, as I mentioned earlier. So this problem, this could be a big problem, especially in this particular pandemic situation. So I would say we could think about some alternative exam assessment policy. Maybe we can go forward with the open book exam, as Professor Hussain said, in Malaysia. So we can also think like that. I'm sure we will get the right direction from our top management very soon. But this could be a big issue because traditionally we have 2 examiners policy in our subject, especially. I'm telling about my business administration aspects. And then student welfare fund. Yeah, this is something very important at this moment. And you'd be happy to know that our university has provided almost 1 million taka for our needy students based on their demand. And we also have, some student advisors from our different departments. So based on the students' demand and need, we actually provided some fund. But still, this is not enough. I personally believe the welfare fund should be extended. And then most important is another is a one-stop solution. As you know, in public universities, we have a lot of administrative issues involved. For example, if I want to withdraw, if I want to get my certificate, a student wants to get certificate, he or she must need to go to different places. So rather than doing that, they could start one-stop solution. One-stop solution could be something very beneficial at this moment. And of course, training and to the faculties and students, which is very important because we all are new in this particular abnormal situation. So I personally believe the training and faculties to the students should be extended. But in our university, the IQAC of our university is doing excellent, and they are trying to give training and faculties to the students. But for the student aspects, yes, some students are actually still frightened to join the class. They don't know how to come to the class. So, but that number is still very nominal and negligible because the last 2-3 months, I personally see that majority students are coming to the class. Almost 85-90% students are joining to the class, which is remarkable from the perspective of public university. And student advisor, I think, of course, this is very important because some students have financial need. So it is difficult to explain to all teachers. So I believe every department should have student advisors. And we are at our Shahjalan University, we also have the student advisors. But I personally know that not all universities have student advisor from the department aspect. Maybe they have their central student advisor, but I'm talking about the student advisor from the department aspect. So every department should their student advisors who should be strongly connected to the students so that the students could share their problems and needs. For the long run, of course, financial aid to the students, to the endowment funds is really needed for the public universities. It could be from WACF or any other sources, but of course, endowment fund should be enlarged. And capacity building is, of course, important because, as you know, there are some limitations, as I mentioned, the internal and external. So we all should focus on building the capacity. And finally, the training and workshop for digitalization, because every day new technologies are coming. And I'm so pleased to see Prof. Christophe has showed us a very good device, which is very good. I think we would definitely love to start buying or say coping with that. So this would be something really good. So the last point that I'm trying to tell you is that we should be more innovative. There should be more training and workshop so that the problem should be resolved collectively and combinedly. So that's all from my part. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ashraf, for introducing different initiatives that your university has taken for meeting this challenge of COVID-19. It's really remarkable. I can see the biggest challenge that remains on your part is holding exam. And I also heard from my colleagues at Dhaka University and other public universities that exams are compiling. So now it's almost 2 semester exams have been compiled. So it will be a huge challenge for the student. I hope you'll come to a very good or possible solution in order to resolve this.
Sure.
Thank you so much. Now, I would like to move to our next guest presenter, to Dr. Sultan Mahmood Bhuiya. Dr. Bhuiya is a director, Strategic Planning and Quality Assurance Division, University Gas Commission, UGC. So this will be very important for us. We would like to hear from our regulator that what are the things are coming in future, and they have already given us permission to hold this online semester, and there are rules and regulations for conducting delivering classes and exams, and in future what are the changes and what future direction he can tell us about conducting this online semesters. So Dr. Sultan Mahmood Bhuiya sir, please. You need to unmute your mic. Right.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for giving me the floor. Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Milan Pagun, guest of speaker, Professor Dr. Christopi, Professor Dr. Nazmun Nahar, Professor Associate Professor Khaltum Hussain, and Associate Professor Dr. Muhammad Ashraful. And I'd like to thank you that you have invited me in this webinar. On behalf of UGC, I will share my experience and I'll share some of the points. Though many points already mentioned by my two colleagues, that means Professor Nazmun Nahar and Professor Muhammad Ashraful, I'll try to avoid those points. As you know that around 4 million students are studying in higher education institutions, and 30,000 teachers are teaching in higher level of education in Bangladesh. You can understand that how big the size of our higher education sector is. Our economy might be smaller, but the size of the education is really gigantic. The COVID pandemic has precedently affected education system, leading to complete closure of all institutions, like other countries' institutions around the world. We don't know where is the end and when it will be over, this COVID situation. Our institutions are closed since March 18. Apparently, students' learning is stopped. Students are losing their academic year, facing uncertainty about their graduation, career, health. Their academic calendar is totally disrupted. But this cannot be continued indefinite period. Corona has changed our mindset, everyday life, as well as the education systems. We are trying to adjust this situation every moment. The world education system has transferred to online learning format. Virtually, platform has developed to disseminate education, and it becomes the meeting platform for our teachers and the learners. And it is becoming the reality at this moment. Ladies and gentlemen, I will talk on behalf of UGC. You can say a representative of the government. How to respond and how we are responding this situation. In this crisis period, UGC has taken various steps, initiatives to continue the education. With the consultation of academics, educationists, policymakers, stakeholders, UGC has given the need-based guidelines as well as the directives on online classes, assessment, and new admission systems for our universities. On the guidelines we mentioned, the class must go on, but the laboratory work or the practical work should not be continued till the corona situation is normal. All kinds of assessment and evaluation would be held after the situation is normal. Class lecture must be uploaded at the university website in a regular basis. And university, those who could not able to start their delivery of online classes due to lack of capacity, they can get assistance from the UGC BDRAN, Bangladesh Computer Council, and A2I. Universities should arrange training for the teachers on online teaching and learning systems, as Professor Ashraf mentioned also. UGC requested to the universities not to give the pressure, mental pressure to our students for the collecting the tuition fees at this moment. Distinguished guests, challenges are there, many limitations are there. Online education systems, UGC know that initially many universities are facing the difficulties to run their online education systems. Even it was not feasible in many cases. Many students have failed to get their internet connectivity. As I heard from Professor Khaltoum Hussain from the Al-Bukhari University, some students did not have the computer. The same thing is happening also in Bangladesh. Many students do not have their smartphone, and they do not have the facilities of the connectivity. Many students are unable to bear the cost of the internet. Even some of the students are hard to reach remote areas. So these kind of problems are going on, but we have to face these problems. On behalf of UGC, I would like to say the government is trying to take some initiatives to meet the crisis. Government tries to extend the ICT facilities across the country. Government is thinking how to minimize Hello.
Yes. No, now we
okay, sir. It is our university of support to our students, like smartphone, internet facilities, etc. Universities need to develop their self-driven, strong, powerful technology, supporting the logistics support to our teachers and the students. Interest-free loan can be provided to our students. University can provide loans to purchase the smartphones, internet package to our students. The mobile phone companies can come forward to assist students in this regard. They can arrange special internet packages. Government is also, this is in thinking process, that if we can open the TV channel on education program. As this program is arranged by the IQAC, or IQAC can play a significant role to face these problems. Work more for ensuring quality teaching learning activities in the universities. IQAC can prepare online teaching learning guidelines with the assistance of other academics, implement with the support of the university authority. IQAC will monitor and accountable for the quality education. We also think IQAC and its directors of the IQAC, additional directors of the IQAC, for quality education. If IQC is more stronger, then the quality of education will be better. IQC can into 3 units. We are thinking that we can advise or we can suggest to the IQC they can they should like quality assurance unit, teaching learning unit, and ICT unit. If they can combine these 3 units together, IQC will be stronger. IQC will maintain the quality of education at their universities. As I mentioned before, the UGC is not to take the assessment, not to arrange any kind of assessment or evaluation at this moment, or not to advise for the practical classes at this moment. That's why UGC is thinking if we can prepare a guideline for the assessment and evaluation and the practical classes for our students. So it will be provided to all universities. IQC will implement those things, and IQC will monitor and assess the impact of the guidelines. We already heard that BDDN is supporting the facilities, but the number of the virtual classes can be increased. BDDN is introducing the Learning Management System, LMS, to all universities. You heard SPQA, I mean, Strategic Planning for Quality Assurance Division is always with the IQCs, always with the universities. How to support to the universities. Dear ladies and gentlemen, first of all, we would like to think that how to change our mindset. There are many obstacles, but if we think positively, then the problems will be solved. If we consider the problems are our friends, then we can move forward. Besides that, we have to make sure the quality of education, because we cannot compromise the anyway. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Dr. Sultan Mahmood Bhuiya, for your valuable input, for sharing what UGC is thinking and UGC's initiative and how you are going to help us to meet this particular challenging situation. Thank you so much. Now I'm going to open the floor, but before that, I would like to request our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Pagon, sir, listening to all these presentations, would you like to share something about some of your thoughts that?
Well, it became obvious from listening to all these presentations that we are facing the same challenges, and I'm happy to see that we are quite similar in searching for the solutions. So, of course, there is this concept of equifinality where you can achieve the same goal going on different paths. But it seems that here, at least with our peer institutions and comparable institutions abroad, we are taking very, very similar steps. And that really emphasizes the need for us to collaborate. We can learn from each other, we can help each other. And I think, as I said at the beginning, I'll just end with that. This is the time of crisis, but also a time of big opportunity, and let's seize that opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now, I'd like to open the floor for open discussion. We have received questions from the audience, from the YouTube and Facebook page, and also we have some questions in the chat box. And I think there is a question to begin with. I think there is a question from Professor Nazmul, and one of the audiences also asked the same question about student engagement. And Professor Shinkas, you try to reply it. Professor Nazmun, would you like to share the thought with the larger audience about how to make sure that interaction and engagement between students?
Yes, thanks a lot for these questions. And indeed, that's a very important question. As I was mentioning during the presentation, when you teach online, it's like there's a screen between, the lecturer and the students. So it's a bit like, there is a distance. And moreover, a lot of students are quite shy in switching on the cam. Some of them, they don't have a webcam, or the webcam is not working, or anywhere the Wi-Fi is not good enough. So it's quite difficult. So that's a very key question. So in Taylor's, in my school, what I decided to do very early, at the very beginning, when we have been informed that we have MCO for several months at least. So I just organized a kind of training every single day with all my staff, every single day, 6 hours. It was a bit tiring for them, poor them, but they did a really great job. In order to talk about different kind of games that we can use. I mean, the most famous probably is Kahoot. The kind of interaction that we can have with the students. Some poll, and we have also our internal system online that actually we also have some games there that we can also use from our platform. That is actually the platform that we use in Telos that we call Times. We also can use some poll, some games there. But let's say Kahoot, because Kahoot is like more general. We do a lot of Kahoot during the tutorials. Looks like the students, they quite like it. And also the examples that I was taking is like changing a little bit the way of teaching. Like, for example, cooking, like this lecturer was cooking. Then in doing so, it's more familiar. The examples taken by the lecturer are very things that we have every day at home, let's say, and that helps a lot because it looks like the students really like this interaction. And you know what? We are used to meet the students every 2 weeks. Okay, every 2 weeks we meet the representative of the students to ensure that everything okay, and we never had so low level of complaint, problem, issue, because actually students, several students really emphasize that, we actually think that for some modules, online teaching is more appropriate because I dare to give my opinion via Kahoot or via a pool or via this game or this game, while when I am in the class on the campus, I don't dare because I'm too shy. So it looks like, we can see problems and challenges as actually an opportunity. And we never had a so low level, let's say, of, students complaining about this and that because they see that the lecturer really try their best to engage the students. There is no best answer to this, engagement questions. But I think gamification, let's say, this is what we use a lot, but it's not the only one because the way of thinking the interaction with students is also very important. Students feel that it's not just I'm in front of you repeating something. It's just really trying to share something with something that is very meaningful for them because it's like using something from everyday life. I think it works in doing so and be very responsive with the students. When they ask questions on YouTube Live, these kind of things, being really responsive. And I think lecturer did very well on that. So this is what we try to do, let's say, with to solve this problem of engagement.
Thank you so much for sharing your view. I have another question that I will direct to Professor Nazmun. It's regarding empathy. You have also mentioned in your slide about being considerate to students, and we also are facing this type of problem. In my other capacity, I'm also the Dean Acting of School of Business and Entrepreneurship here. Every day I'm receiving email from the faculty members that this student cheated, this student did that, I'm going to give F, this report was plagiarized, no consideration, I'm not going to compromise. Now, how we can deal with this? How to do? Should we take a hard line or should we be considerate with the student? What do you think about this, Professor Nazmun? Madam, you need to unmute your mic. Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. Thank you. Our final exams have started. So you see that we are receiving lots of things from the students, like I don't have this, my webcam is not working, how can I have my video on? Or someone is saying that, I couldn't submit my final projects, like that. Well, what I'm doing is, what I'm telling my faculty members is to be actually kind of lenient to the students, because we don't really know what's going on. And like some of my students actually had their family members affected by COVID. 3 of my direct students are right now COVID patients, actually. So they cannot take the final exam. And well, I gave them the opportunity. I said, okay, you can take an incomplete, because incomplete means they can take the exam next semester and they don't have to pay for the course. Or I said, if you think you are comfortable, I can take the exam later on in this semester, so that they don't have to repeat it next semester. So I'm giving them some different options, whichever they feel comfortable. So not being hard at them that, oh, you are not saying the right thing. I'm not going to judge them whether they're saying the right thing or not. That I'm avoiding at this point, because that's not I think that's not the right thing to do at this point. So that kind of approach we are taking. And same thing I'm telling our faculty members to be like, in terms of if they're too not to get too frustrated, because some faculty members are saying that, well, how can I ensure that 100% no cheating? And I said, no system can ensure 100% no cheating in this situation. So let's try to be as innovative as possible in terms of making the questions, but in terms of assessing the students, I would go for more on the lenient side. And that's what I'm suggesting to my faculty members. Just be lenient and be sympathized with the students. If they say that they're affected, trust them.
All right. Thank you, Professor Nazmur, for sharing your thoughts. My next question that I have received, I'm going to direct it to Dr. Sultan Mahmood Bhaiya. It's regarding inequality. It's saying that this online class system, this online course system is going to create more inequality, and marginalized people and students will be affected more. Now, sir, can you tell us about your thoughts about this and how you can minimize it?
Thank you very much, sir. That's a very tricky question to answer at this moment. But what we are thinking on behalf of UGC and the UGC authority, we are trying our level best to make the facilities to all the students equally. But I already mentioned that we have some limitations. Government is trying, UGC is trying. We are working with you, all the academics and solve this situation or how to face this situation. So yes, it's true that those who are staying in far away or remote area, the students, those who do not have the equal internet, or those who do not able to support their cost of internet or the mobile phone, definitely they are lacking behind. They are staying back. This is reality. It is happening. We have to understand it. But we are aware of it, that how to minimize this gap. We are trying our level best. We are consulting, or we are negotiating. We are working with different agencies like Bangladesh Computer Council or A2I, Access to Information Project, different projects. We are trying to tell them to how to extend their facilities for all kind of students. We are trying to, as you heard that, students are given 100 taka to bear their internet cost. But though it is very minimum, this is not enough money. But we are trying to make the facilities to the students, and we are telling the private universities, especially the private universities, not to give the pressure to our students at this moment to pay the tuition fee or the session fee or something like that. So our students should not have the mental pressure at this moment, because they are they are in bad situation at this moment, that they are thinking about their completion of their degrees, completion of their courses, and they are thinking about their health as well. So with those who are living in cities, or those who are from the good background of the family, who have the good background of the family, it is not the problem for them. But yeah, we have to think those who are from the needy family, those who the students, those who are coming from the needy family, those who have not that kind of support by themselves for internet or the website or the digital system, or they cannot buy the mobile phone, or they do not have the connectivity. We have to think for those students, and this is not easy, Professor Saur. It is not easy to answer at this moment, but we are thinking, we are trying our level best. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much for your elaborative answer. Thank you so much. We have another question that we have received from audience. This is regarding the grading system, that they wanted to know whether you are going for the full grading system like we used to have before the pandemic, A, B, C and all, or whether you are following in Malaysia about only pass and fail. I would like to request Dr. Hossein to answer it first, then Professor Shinkas can add on.
All right, thank you, Professor Dr. Sawar. As for AIU, we are still inclined to impose the qualified grade. Only, I think to this extent, for instance, like teaching practicum, right? Teaching practicum, we have thought of having a pass or a fail. But for other classes, we are still inclined to the, to the qualified grades.
Okay. Professor Shinkas, would you like to share your thought?
Yeah, actually, we worked a lot on this aspect in TELOS. What we did, we tried to benchmark a little bit all the best universities around the world about this, and we decided to implement a specific policy, COVID policy, that on 5 modules, this is actually what the students can have during one semester, they actually are allowed to use a pass-fail grade for 2 of the modules. For 3, it's just normal, but for 2 modules, they can have a pass-fail. And actually, they can select only 2 per semester then, and most of the time, they're invited to select the modules in which they expect to have a kind of low mark and this kind of things in order to not be counted in the GPA. So, however, we put the kind of disclaimer to explain them that they have to think about their future. We don't know. We cannot take a decision for them. We don't know if they plan to apply for a scholarship, if they plan to do something in the future. That actually, the institutions where they plan to apply will ask them to have a full, complete grade for everything. So that we don't know. And also some specific modules are related to professional bodies. So we simply cannot. Professional bodies in accounting say, no, for this module, no way, forget it, no pass fail. So we have to explain that to the students. But actually, it was quite useful for them, because then they can really use this policy to ease a little bit their marks and their final results in case of the COVID actually has affected their learning and teaching experience. So this is what we did in TELOS. So 2 pass-fail marks on 5 were allowed for this semester.
Okay. Thank you very much for sharing what you are doing over there. Just for sharing, here at IUB, we are still following the same grading procedure that you used to follow before the pandemic. We have decided so that not to have any confusion among students and the faculty members at this point of time. Another question. We are almost close to 2, so we are going to end. This will be our last question, and I would like to direct it to Dr. Mohammad Ashraful Firdaus Chaudhary. This question, as you can say, that given this situation, the current development in Bangladesh, what we are going through, do you think that we are ready to have 3 or 4 or some classes offline means coming to the campus, isn't it? So are you think in the context of Bangladesh, we are ready to host students for some classes at the campus? What do you think? What are your thoughts?
Thank you. I think it's a very it's a very tricky question, especially at this situation. It's difficult to say, because from my aspect, from the public university aspect, I could tell you that most of our students are actually residing in the student hall. So once you open the university, they would come back to the student hall. So how do we make sure the health safetyness in the student hall? That could be a big issue. As I said, our students are from different parts of the country. So this is one issue. The residence issue is a big issue. And of course, the health, I'm sure the seniors would say, it should come from the top management, from the country, from the Ministry of Education. So whether we are still able to start or not. But I think it's difficult to say at this moment whether we can start it or not. But for the limited aspect, we can start. But from the public university aspect, as you know, the students are from different parts of the country. It might be quite difficult to start at this moment without ensuring this health safetyness in their student hall. That might be even detrimental, to be honest, at this moment. But of course, since situations are changing every day, and we are optimistic, and as you can see, the death cases are actually getting down here in our country. So it seems to me that something is going positive. Maybe after 1 or 2 months, I'm sure the policymakers will say whether we are able to start or not. But at this moment, I think it will be difficult to start. As you know, students are actually residing in the student hall. So that could be a big issue. But again, I'm optimistic. I'm really optimistic. And as we are actually going forward, we are actually going in the right shape, because as you can call back, at the beginning of the pandemic, it was really difficult to start the online class, especially to the public universities. But we started. And right now it is going in the full swing. And majority of students are also joining to the class. So overall, it's going very fine. I think for that strategical purpose, right now we should go as we are actually running right now. Maybe after a certain period of time, the top management will decide whether we can start it or not. So subject to the situation, I think the top management should take the right decision for the students' welfare and for the welfare of the all. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts. Well, I would like to know, what is the situation in Malaysia? What do you think? When do you foresee anytime soon of opening the campus physically to your students?
Well, to be honest, it's changing every week. It's quite interesting. Beginning of September, we had a red list of countries. So the international students, they were not, invited to come back. Then 2 weeks later, it's like, okay, done. Everyone can come back on campus. Then a week later, it's but it depends. Some places from Sabah, they cannot come on campus. So every single week we have a different way of dealing with the situation, because it simply depends on the evolution of the numbers, the COVID-19 numbers. And I understand that. We know that this is part of our reality now, uncertainty. So because of that, what we started in August in Taylor's, we are actually offering a blended mode of teaching. So we have a tutorial class on campus. We respect them. We respect then the social distancing rules. So we have no more than 16 students by class. We don't have the lecture because it's too big group. Obviously, we cannot have there. So, but we have tutorials on campus. Not all tutorials, because due to social distancing, we cannot have more than 30% of our students on campus. This is actually the recommendation from the government. So because of that, we just counted this kind of number of students, because there are still students who want to come back on campus. They want to have physical interaction and face-to-face, because they are used to, they want that. So we identify some modules in which it's interesting to have, like, for example, going to the trading room and these kind of things. So this is what we are doing. For other modules, we are completely online. And for these modules with tutorial on campus, they have lecture online, and then they have the tutorial on campus. And this is what we do. 1 week on 2, some students come, and then other students are online, and then we are doing this kind of things. We don't, for now, we are in a status quo, because we don't want to increase the number of students on the campus. We don't want to decrease. We are just like status quo, and we are waiting a little bit to see a bit how the numbers will go.
Right. All right. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing. Our question is to our Vice Chancellor, Professor Milan Pagon. As you can see, the question is that how do you see the future of the universities? Are they going to run their operations like before, or other learning platform will supplant the age-old practice, supplement or replace, they said, I think. Sir, please.
Yeah, this is a $1 million question. Now, see, the universities have been around for thousands of years, and I don't think they're going anywhere. But it is a very dangerous situation when it comes to higher education, because I saw suggestions from reputed thinkers that universities should be replaced by academies that offer hands-on knowledge necessary in real life for students to do things immediately, and so on and so on. And I would like to read a quotation by C.S. Lewis, who said many years ago, "If education is beaten by training, civilization dies. The lesson of history is that civilization is a rarity attained with difficulty and easily lost. It is the liberal arts, not vocational training, that preserves civilization by producing reasonable men and responsible citizens." And this is where the higher education has to play the role. As I said earlier, it will never go back to the way it was. Online education will always be a component of it. It will play part of it. And I think the rigid, structured approach that we see to in higher education in many countries, where if you start your academic training in education, then you have to follow it all the way through to the PhD. You cannot switch anywhere in between, and so on. I think that rigidity will go away. It will become more flexible. We'll have modular approach. People will be able to take online courses, Coursera, MOOCs, and whatever, apply that for credit, will use their experience. So I think we will have to be much more flexible, but our mandate is still to produce responsible citizens and not just offer vocational training. And I think that will always be necessary. So yes, the universities will remain, but we'll have to adjust. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. I think we can take this as the concluding remark of this particular webinar. We will keep on what we are doing. We'll do it better, and we will learn from each other. We are going to summarize the things that we have discussed here, and in the form of some synopsis, and we are going to distribute among ourselves and to external bodies, so that we can convey whatever we have learned from this webinar to others. Thank you so much. Now I would like to hand over to Mr. Marjuk to propose the vote of thanks. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Professor Dr. Sararuddin Ahmed, for conducting this lively and timely session for all of us. It was indeed very enjoyable, and wonderful suggestions and comments actually came out. I'd like to start with extending our sincere gratitude to our distinguished guests here, Professor Christopher Shinkas, Professor Dr. Kalthum Hussain, Professor Nazmun Nahar, Dr. Sultan Mahmoud Bhuiya, Professor Ashraful Firdaus Chaudhry. Actually, I remember we have been trying to organize this session since long. I think our plan was to organize this event in the first week of September. But however, due to some administrative issues, we delayed, and you have actually trusted on us and actually joined this seminar today. Also, we have exploited your weekends for the dry run. I remember that. So thanks for everything, all your labor and accommodations that you had to make to your busy schedule. Once again, I welcome all of you. When I hope soon enough things come back to normal, please visit IUB. This is a wonderful institution, one of the topmost institutions in Bangladesh. I hope we'll enjoy your company as you'll enjoy ours. And then I'd like to extend our sincere gratitude to our own authority for always facilitating from all different angles. That includes technological, inspirational, motivational, as well as all kinds of support that they've been continuing to extend, not only to faculty members, also to the students by extending huge amount of grants for the whole semester, the semester we just passed, and even in the coming semester, which is more than 200 million. Really a good signal for all of us that, as Professor Milan Pagon was saying, that universities are going to sustain, and I believe that will be the future. Also, I'd like to thank our CITS, Central Information Technology Services, who have been the comrades of this uphill battle. So they have done everything, all kinds of supports. Mr. Syed Mahfouz Ahmed and his capable team, they have made this journey much easier, seamless for all of us. So sincere thanks for all of you. And also our small IQC office, Mr. Saman Shakil Farhan and Shormila Sharkar. Both of you have done your extensive job for making this happen. And then last but not the least, I'd like to extend our gratitude to our big IUB community for all sorts of encouragement and support. Our faculty members, students, well-wisher, alumni, all of you, and most importantly, our trustee board members. So, behind the curtain, they're actually running the show, and they're actually trying by every possible means to actually, make our journey as easier as possible. And our audience, thanks very much for listening. And despite this pandemic pressure, I believe your strain won't be lessened, but some hopes are there, so we can see at the end of the tunnel. So we can promise from the IQCF IUB that we will try to elicit your valuable comments, suggestions, or discussions, and make a compendium of that, and probably we'll be able to publish some excerpt of based on that, maybe in future, not too distant though. So with that high hope that university is going to live, not perish, I'd like to conclude this session. Being the master of the ceremony, my name is Obaidullah Al-Marzouk. I'm the Additional Director of IQC IUB. Thank you very much, all of you. Hope to see you soon.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Yeah, take care, be safe.